Hello everyone. So I have a layout for you today using lots of fun Emerald Creek goodies. I'm showing you all the different products I'm going to be using. I'm going to use 3 different embossing powders and some fun brads and some little stones. So while I kind of start getting myself set up here, I end up not using those stickers at all. Let me just talk to you about Emerald Creek Dares. So if you don't know about this, if you go to the Emerald Creek blog, they have a monthly challenge. So every month during 2019, they're going to give you a song title, and you use the song title as inspiration for your project. So for July, the song title is Rhinestone Cowboy. And so to go along with this theme for the month, what I decided to do was I went into a UFO, an unfinished project, and a UFP. I don't know how that goes, but anyway, an unfinished project, which is a vacation album from 2 or 3 years ago when we went to Colorado. I thought that would be perfect to theme for my cowboy. And as I was going through the album and looking at the pages I haven't done yet, I came across these photos of Buffalo Bill. We were in a museum, and they had one of the carriages that he used for his traveling show. And so I thought that would be perfect for this particular theme and for this challenge this month. So I've gone ahead and done some inking just on the edges. I've used carved pumpkin, and then I went ahead in with antique linen. The antique linen is going to allow me to tone down the carved pumpkin so it's not so bright, or it's just going to kind of blend in a little bit. So the entire album, this entire vacation travel album, is done in Webster's Pages, one of their older collections, Travel Girl, which has a lot of like oranges and blues and minty greens and things like that in it. So I decided to go ahead and take the colors that I've already used in the album as inspiration. I pulled out a couple of pieces of Webster's Pages paper. This is from one of their more recent collections, Painted Passport. And I have this new thing. I don't like it. I'll tell you right now, I don't like it. It's from Stampendous. I just wanted to try it. I really wanted a dauber for my embossing powder when I do projects like this, like die cuts and things, and so I thought that this would be really great, except for one problem. So this ink that's in here, this Stampendous embossing ink, it's like oily. Like it's not sticky. It's not sticky, and it's oily. And I actually ended up having a hard time getting the embossing powder to stick to it, which is kind of the whole point of embossing ink. So I don't know about all that. I'm not super excited about it. I don't really like it, but I wish that there was an embossing ink that came in a dauber that actually worked really well, because it would have it would work really well for me. So I'm going to see what I can find for this. Now, I have used 3 different embossing inks on the edges of this paper. I have used hammered metal, wrought iron, and charred gold. I'm going to end up with just this really nice effect on the side of the page. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead, I'm going to do the edges of this paper, and then I'm also going to do the die cuts. And I'm going to do them the same way. I'm going to fight with that Stampendous ink dauber. I'm going to put the 3 colors of embossing powder onto the ink dauber, onto the die cuts, and I'm going to heat emboss them. And they work. I fought with these die cuts really bad. If you want to see how to really emboss a die cut with the correct embossing powder, check out my summer scrapping video from earlier in June, because that was a mess. I got so mad, and then when I got the footage back, half the time I wasn't even on camera. So they did turn out nice in the end, and those 2 die cuts are I literally went into the Silhouette Design store and typed in like Buffalo Bill and just chose 2 that I thought would be nice, really simple ones. One's a buffalo, one's a cow skull, and I just heat embossed them using all of those different embossing powders I just mentioned, the hammered metal, the wrought iron, and the charred gold. So I want to make sure that I'm adding some blue to this layout because I don't want it to be full orange, and I feel like the blue is going to set my photos off a little bit better. So I'm just going to mount them very, very, just a little mat of blue just right around the photos. And these are two 4x6 photos, and I just decided to use them both and go ahead and mat them, and then I'm going to get them onto my layout. Okay, so I know I want the buffalo up here and I want the skull up there, and I'm going to end up flipping my photos so I don't cover up quite so much of the carriage. And then I've done my journaling offline. I did it with a, what's it called? I did it on a Studio Calico, like just a journaling card. So I'm going to go ahead here. I'm grabbing my score tape because, so when you emboss paper like this, in this particular, it's going to work just because of the heat. And because I put a bunch of layers of embossing powder onto my buffalo and onto my skull, it's also going to go ahead and kind of create a bit of warping. I personally don't mind this warping. I kind of like it. But I am going to put score tape on the edges of this paper so it will lay down nice and flat on my layout. And just this paper because I know I'm going to be popping stuff up and all that. Okay, and so I'm going to pull my journaling right here, and then I'm going to start to adhere down these silica files that I've heat embossed. Again, you can see here, look at that paper. I am not even kidding you, you guys. Like, that embossing ink was the worst. My paper was still oily at this point, and I'm trying to figure out, so it's completely dry, but the behind on the paper was still oily, not sticky, not, inky, like this oil. Ugh. Yeah, I'm glad that wasn't a very expensive purchase. And so I'm going to use multi-matte medium and glossy accents to stick this down, and that did work. That worked quite well, actually. And I left this be warpy, so there are parts of this that kind of bends up and adds a little bit of dimension, and I was fine with that, but I just was very unhappy with that embossing ink. If anyone is out there that knows a good embossing ink that comes in a dauber, please let me know, because I'd love to try one. I know that somewhere out there is a Ranger one. I know that Ranger makes one, but I can't seem to find it anywhere for sale, like that I can buy one. So if you happen to know where I can get one of those, please leave a comment below and let me know. So I'm just going to go ahead here. I'm adding a little bit of, I used kind of like a both. I used both multi-matte medium and glossy accents to try to get these kind of to stick good. And then I'm just going to go ahead here, and you can see, like, I don't know, this was just bad. I love the way the die cuts turned out. The embossing itself, like the embossing powder and the way it melts and its sheen was fabulous. I just was quite unhappy with that ink. You can see me here trying to, like, get all this and stuck down and everything. Ugh. And so now I'm going to go ahead and do the skull. This is like a cow skull. And again, I'm going to just stick it down with some glossy accents, get it there. That one actually stuck down a bit better than the buffalo. You see how I had to put one of my acrylic blocks on the buffalo to kind of keep it in place till the glue set and dried. But the cow skull seemed to go down quite a bit easier. With these two large pieces on my page, I didn't want to add too much more in the way of large embellishments. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to add some of these beautiful brads. And again, I felt like they just had the right kind of feel to them to kind of set off some of the areas of my layout. And they have beautiful blue gems in them, so that set perfectly off with the colors and the things I was going for with this layout. And now I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to grab some Nuvo stone drops. These are blue stone drops. They're beautiful. They are the first Nuvo drops I've had that worked fairly perfectly. So you look at that. You just got to tap them a little bit underneath, and they right down. They work fabulous, and I haven't had any issues with this particular one clogging. They dry to this really fun stone finish. They have a little bit of like texture in them, and I think that they were perfect for the feel of this layout, and they're quite lovely. I really am happy with these particular Nuvo drops. So I'm going to go ahead and kind of let those set up a little bit, and then I want to add a little bit more of these stones to my layout. These are the Mexican Fire Opals, and what I'm going to do is I'm putting them down with some glossy accents, which works really well for this particular type of a thing. Now watch what I do here. Are you ready? Schmutz! Oh, right into my Nuvo drop. That wasn't dry yet. Okay. Plan B, we're going to take a little stone and we're going to shove it in there, and you know what happens? The Nuvo drops hold the stone right there, and you can't even tell. So I'm going to go ahead and just add a bit of stone to a couple places on this layout, and that is and I'm going to call it done. Thank you so much for joining me today. Look at how gorgeous that embossing turned out. Not even stupid embossing ink can ruin how beautiful that turned out. And it's dry now and gorgeous. So be sure to head over to the Emerald Creek blog and check out that fun challenge that they host every month. I'd love to see what you can do with it and play along. Have a wonderful day, and I'll see you all again soon. Sorry. Bye.